Do I need to flip my phone or is this okay?
You are fine.
Okay, good.
All right, so we are officially live. Welcome to another edition of Model Talk Tuesdays. I am a lady named Pearl, the founder of a Lady Named Pearl Leadership Academy, and we have the amazing Brenda Nicole Moorer here as our guest. Brenda, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. How
Awesome.
are you?
I'm doing well. We're busy moving. It's Atlanta Fashion Week this
Is
week,
it?
Brenda.
I didn't
Yeah,
know.
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so I literally saw a fashion show, trucked it over. So thank you for taking the time to allow us
Hmm.
to interview you because sis, you've been doing some amazing things. And I
Thank
wanted the
you.
students, yes, to hear your journey and just gain some insight from your journey.
Hmm.
So I'd love to start with, first of all, you recently played the role of Brenda on the Respect movie. Um,
Yeah.
Such a huge role.
Thank
And I
you.
want to still show the students some pictures. I've been working with this technology, but before I ask you some questions, I kind of want to give them a reference of
Hmm.
some of the photos that I found on your Facebook. So let's see
Yeah.
if this is going to cooperate with me. All right, students. So I want to give you a reference of Brenda playing the role of Brenda on Respect so that when you do see it, so here's Brenda in the middle. I thought she executed her role so well.
Thank
I guess this is you
you.
kind of giving yourself like a
That's
high
in my
five.
trailer. Yeah.
Yes. And then here with your sisters, right?
Hmm.
And then is this kind of some backstage? I wasn't sure what this was. What is this?
Yeah, that's the choreographer. When we were rehearsing for all the dances and stuff, we rehearsed for a couple weeks before we shot.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, and just some behind the scenes. Who is this gentleman here?
The choreographer again.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, just another shot of him. All right,
Yeah.
and then when I saw this dress, Brenda, again, on the red carpet for the Respect premiere, so beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, so I'd love to start with you playing that role. How did you land the role?
Hmm.
What did it feel like to be on set with such amazing talent, including
Hmm.
yourself? Let's start there if you don't mind, and then we'll back into kind of building up.
Yeah. Um, so first of all, everyone on set was saying Brenda playing Brenda. It was so funny. So Brenda Franklin was actually Aretha's cousin, and she's the only one from their group that's still alive today. Aretha passed, and her sisters are gone as well. So Brenda Franklin sang with her all through her career. So Brenda Franklin was actually on set, came to set. There's a picture out there somewhere of us all together. But I got this role just by auditioning. I have an agent who actually auditioned for a different role for the movie at first, which is my friend Charity actually got that role. But I got called back for it. I didn't get that one. She had some lines during the first couple scenes, first party scene in the movie. And so I didn't get that one. They were like, "We love you, but there's something else." So they sent me the other role, which was the Brenda role, which actually required me singing and dancing and was a better use of all of my skills. So I auditioned for that. I actually auditioned 4 times because the way it works is you don't just audition once and then you're cast. Like you audition, you get a call back, then you got to call back with the director, then you have to call back with the writer, director, producer. Then they decide if you're the person for the role. So when they told me I literally like screamed out loud. I was so excited. So very excited.
Screaming with you.
I
Mm-hmm.
prayed over it. I went in there at the last audition. I went in there. I wasn't nervous, actually. I had been nervous all the other auditions, but that last one, I was like, you know what? I talked myself up. I was like, I'm going to go in here. I'm just going to do me. I sing for a living. This is what I do all the time. I'm just going to go in there and do what I do. And they like it or they don't. And I left it on the table. And then about a week later, they called my agent and told me that I got it, which is so exciting. So it's such a blessing, and just feel so honored to be in the same room as Jennifer Hudson and Forrest Whitaker and um, Audra McDonald and Heather Headley, like amazing performers, actresses, artists in that movie. So to share the room with them was phenomenal. It definitely made me feel like they made me feel like I was welcome and a part. You know what I mean? So
Well,
it was beautiful.
that was beautiful on their part. So what are, if you could say 3 things that you learned while being on set? Could you share with us some of the things that you learned while being on set?
Yeah, definitely. It takes a lot to make a movie. There's hundreds of people involved, which I guess I always knew, right? But seeing it live with, all the people actually there making all the things move. What else? Movie, actually, there are rehearsals, which is different because I'd done TV before. TV, you don't really rehearse. You just go in. You might have your blocking for the camera and the lights, usually they'd have a stand-in do it, and then you shoot. But for movies, we actually had an acting coach on set. We actually had rehearsals. So that was a different experience, which I love because it reminded me more of the theater process than the TV film process. What else? I mean, I learned a lot about Aretha's life, things that I didn't know about her being a mother and her personal life. And then just learning and getting to know my castmates was an amazing experience too. And seeing the process go from, they're writing and rewriting at the same time that you're filming. So there might be like tweaking things here and there. There's different versions of different scripts that come out, and things will change daily sometimes, which is the same way it works in TV. But to see it go from there to actually being all put together was amazing. We actually had like way more footage than what could be used. So there are scenes that I'm in that or in that Jennifer was in. Like there's a scene where Jennifer crashes a car. Like there's all other kinds of scenes that didn't make it into the movie because just not enough time, because you can only have 2.5 hours at the most, maybe 3 at the most, but you can't have that many hours. But I think we had like 4 hours of footage or something.
Wow. So what I learned from that dialogue that you just gave me, Brenda, is 1, don't get attached to any scenes that you film.
Oh no.
They may end up on the cutting board. And then 2, in learning your lines, be flexible enough, because they're doing rewrites on set for you to change, whatever it is that the writer wants you to say.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So with Brenda Franklin being the only one alive, was there, in meeting her, was there any insight that she gave you with the character? Was there any relationship between you and her in filming this?
Oh yeah. So when she first came on set, they had me in the middle for filming, and I think you'll see that it changes throughout the film. Some of the scenes I'm in the middle of the 3 ladies singing, and then when Brenda came on set, she said, "I was never in the middle." So, because she was actually the shortest, but because of these 3 ladies of us together, I was the tallest, so they put me in the middle. But she was the shortest, so she was never in the middle.
She's like, that ain't even right.
It's not right.
Yes. So you're switched up. Okay.
Yeah. So some scenes you'll see that I'm in the middle, and then some scenes you'll see I'm not in the middle. And that was funny. And then she told us a lot of insight about just Aretha's personality and just how fun and awesome it was to be touring and performing with her. And yeah, just giving real insight on like, oh, this happened this way, or oh, this didn't actually happen this way. her family was very involved in while they were writing from the beginning. So and she was just so supportive and just big, beautiful smile. And just so warm and happy that we were there telling the story.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm happy that the family was involved from the beginning to the end, right? And that it was authentic in terms of telling her story. So I just want to give a shout out to some of the people that are online. Brenda, you can't see them because they're on the YouTube live.
Okay.
Gail, shout out to you. Thank you, Gail. And for those of you that are watching, go ahead and chime in on the comments so I can give you all a shout out. And also feel free to ask any questions as Brenda is speaking, if something piques your interest. All right. So I met Brenda, OMG, how long ago was that? Maybe, and I'm just gonna guess, maybe 2014. I'm guessing.
Maybe, yeah.
And I'm trying to remember, we met through John Roberts. I was co-hosting a show with him called Simply the Best.
Yes.
And I heard Brenda sing, and she was kind enough, you all, to ask me to host her
album release.
Yeah. Right? Yes. And from then on, I was like, this is like a songbird, she's my songbird just on my shoulder. And I've been impressed with her. And just to see you grow through the years, Brenda, with your voice, with your presence, such a queen. So congratulations. So let's start from the beginning, Brenda. Where were you born? Where are you from? Tell us about your childhood so we can get an idea of your foundation.
So my family's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we moved here when I was 12 to Atlanta. So my parents just wanted a different life for us outside of Milwaukee. But all my aunts, uncles, grandma, everybody's still in Milwaukee. So we go back often. I grew up with my grandfather and his brothers around heavily. We always had like the party house where all the family would be over our house for barbecue and music and everybody singing and dancing every weekend. So my family is very musical. My grandfather and his brothers were in a group in the 60s called the Esquires. They actually won a couple gold records and they toured the world. So I grew up with them around, always kind of like telling me little things here and there. I actually didn't sing for my family until I was 11 because I was scared. Because there's you never know, like, how Black families are. They're like, are you saying you do? And they're going to put you on the spot and they're going to have you doing all kinds of stuff all night long. I was always scared of that. So it took me a while to come out to actually sing for everybody. So I grew up like that. We moved here. I joined a girl group in 8th grade. And that was my first kind of like professional singing experience. We were Dave Hollister's girl group. So
really? Okay. I did not, maybe I knew, but did not know. Okay.
Yes.
And you were in 8th grade. So that's about 13 years old. Okay.
Yes, about 12 or 13. I stayed with that group for about 3 years. And then I think when I was about 15, 16, I left the group and started trying to do my own solo stuff. And I was singing and writing with my guitar. And I got signed to a label in London. And they did not know what to do with a Black girl singing and playing guitar. Because at that point, there had been like a Tracy Chapman, really like the only real good example of someone that had done it successfully, doing that kind of music. India.Arie was just, kind of coming to the scene. They didn't know what to do with it. So they decided that I should...
Hold on 1 second, Brenda. I have to stop you. Okay. What made you pick up the guitar before we go into these levels? So one, I want to ask you, because we do have a lot of young students, and Brenda is doing multiple things. So you all, as she's walking. Okay.
I'm getting out.
Yes.
Yeah, it's too dark in there, so I wanted to
Okay.
have better light.
So I want to just ask a couple of things, particularly about your journey that you mentioned, because I'm just like a self-esteem esoteric person. So you said at 11, you sang for your family. There's a lot of young students that we have that may be holding a talent in and, want to do it. So one, I want to ask you, what made you say, okay, it's time for me to let this talent out? And then the second thing I want to ask is what made you pick up the guitar and what kind of discipline and focus did it take for you to learn that guitar? So let's start with those questions.
I think when I decided to sing for my family, it was more just like I felt like I had been secretly practicing in my room, recording myself with my little recorder, and I felt confident enough in myself where I could go forth and show someone else. And I think I was at the point where I wanted feedback too. Um, so that's probably what forced me or encouraged me to go out of my shell and actually do it.
And then
I
what
remember
happened? What
I
happened
remember,
when you did it? Yeah.
oh yeah, I remember being super nervous about it because I didn't know how they were going to respond and all that. But family, they are so supportive, so supportive, and so they just nurtured me from the moment they decided and learned that I could sing. That was it. My parents did everything they possibly could to help foster that because that's what parents want to do. They want to foster your talents.
So
So go
for
ahead.
any of you that are listening out there that's holding a talent in, you have a support system. You have your family. Not only do you have your family, you have a Lady Named Pro Leadership Academy. So feel free to, share your talent. I just want to bring that out because I know, a lot of people hold things in, and once you let it out, you're going to get support. You're going to get support, but just find a loving environment.
And you can't do it by yourself. I mean, there's no, what do they say? Closed mouths don't get fed or something. So you gotta speak up and you gotta put yourself out there in order for them to connect you to the resources. Especially as a child, it's not like you can go out and do these things yourself in terms of like finding an agent, and you need an adult to help you do these things. So opening the door and showing them that you are interested, they'll jump on the bandwagon and help support you and make these connections happen for you. And then in terms of picking up the guitar, that ended up happening because I just got to a point where I was wanting to express my own lyrics and own music myself. And playing an instrument was a way that I didn't have to depend on anyone else to be there to make music with me. I could be self-contained. So it was another form of expression and a tool and helping me write songs. And I still use it to write songs.
And how did you keep yourself disciplined enough to learn the instrument?
Yeah, I think definitely practicing every day. I was self-taught. I had lessons here and there when I got stuck with things, but with learning any instrument, especially guitar is a hard one. Like piano is way easier to start with. But guitar is one of those things that you have to persevere through because it's painful, because you have to form calluses on your fingers. You're going to have to get muscle strength in your fingers. It takes time to build it up. So I guess knowing that there was going to be greater reward on the other side of all of it kept me going, and just my own determination to want to be able to actually do it. That's something I still teach my kids now. You're not going to pick up anything and just be good at it. Everybody has to work and learn and grow in it. That's the whole point. If everyone was good at everything, then everyone would be doing everything. It takes work and time and dedication. So I think I definitely was motivated enough to want to practice on my own. That's the thing I think is key, having motivation enough to be dedicated. Because your parents can be like, oh, you need to practice. But if you don't have motivation yourself, it's not going to get done.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to have that vision, right? Brenda had that vision. She saw herself playing the guitar, being self-contained. So you have to have a vision and stick to it. So shout out to Amber that is on. Thank you for coming on. So now, okay, we're signed at what, 16?
Yeah.
To London? Okay. London, okay. And then what happens there at that point? You said that India Irie was just coming out and Tracy Chapman had did well, but they didn't know what to do with you, a 16-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Corinne Bailey Rae was just maybe a year or two later came on the scene. And that's when it really clicked for me. And I was like, oh, wow, I can do this sort of music and it can be successful in a mainstream way. And before that, you know, that was at the emergence of the indie artists, you know, that where you could start self-releasing music yourself and not needing a label to do it and all that kind of stuff. So, but at that point, they decided that I was going to be the Black Kylie Minogue, which is like a pop star kind of thing. But that wasn't who I was innately. I still not who I am innately. But we did put out some singles. I did have a single to go to number 1 on dance charts over there. But ultimately, and you can talk to my parents about this, my dad might still have some feelings about it, but I decided to walk away because I wasn't at that age happy. I never wanted to, even at that young age, I knew what integrity was without even knowing what integrity was.
Oh, wow.
I just knew it didn't make me happy. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel honest. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to be forced into doing something that didn't feel authentic to me. So I walked away from that, and I just continued with high school. And I was at DeKalb School of the Arts, and I spent the next 2 years working with other students at the school and just growing that way. And then by the time I was done with high school, I realized I had all these songs recorded with me and my high school friends. And that is the album, my first album that I self-released. I started a label myself called Yellow Orchid Records. I found out how to get my music on. At that time, Pandora was the only thing around, I think. There was no Spotify. There was no Apple Music. And I booked the theater because I'd been working in theater as well. I booked the theater at 7 Stages. I asked Pearl to come host. And I self-released my my first album myself.
Oh my gosh. Now, like hearing the story, Brenda, you get what I'm saying? And I want to commend you. And that's for any so Brenda was in a space, you all, and I see you all chiming in. I'm gonna give you a shout out. Brenda was in a space where she said she had a number 1 record in London, and she walked away just because they were producing music around her that was not true to herself. And as a model as well, you may be in spaces where people are asking you to, you know, wear this type of clothing or, you know, pose a certain kind of way. If it's not true to who you are, do not do it, you know? So I think that's a great point. Hold on. My apologies, you all. Let me make sure this is plugged in. Do not do it. You have to stay true to yourself. So that is so key. So shout out to Nadia. I see you. Valerie, I see you. Charlene, I see you. So Gail, you're asking, is her genre folk music? We're gonna get to that. But I am so honored knowing that you left something and started over. That's almost what I did when I left my corporate job. Like God was telling me there is so much more out there for you. But everybody around me was telling me, you're making this amount of money. Are you crazy? Are you? And I'm like, well, I've gotten everything, but I haven't gotten the feeling of being self-fulfilled and doing it my way. I want to do it my way. Yes. Yeah.
So important because I mean, you have to feel your own purpose in life, and everyone else might not see your vision. They might not be on board right away, but once you're doing it, they'll get on board, or some people won't, and that's okay too. But you gotta, in this life, feed and feel that inner thing. Doesn't matter how much money it is. If you're not self-fulfilled and happy, then there's really no point.
I'm gonna give a little hand clap on that and some snaps on that. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm getting these questions about your music, and I'm gonna play one of your videos from your recent album, Marrow.
Yeah.
So should we do that now, Brenda?
Sure,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, my music has, I have 3 albums out and 1 EP, which this last one was put out on a record, and the one before that was put out through a label in Japan. But my music has evolved from, it's a mix of folk, soul, and jazz. So this latest record is more jazz than anything else. But yeah, let's play it.
Okay, awesome. You all, Miss Pearl is getting her technology together. So if I mess something up, just let me know. But let me see. Boom, boom, boom. So you all, this is the latest project by Brenda Nicole Moorer. And it is called Find Your Way, which is perfect for what we're talking about right now.
All of my music has a message, yes.
Yes. So you all do not go in, don't allow someone to push you in a particular direction. Make your direction and what's comfortable for you.
Take some time to find what life is showing you. Tomorrow brings a brand new day. Nothing bad lasts always. Rest assured that you will find your way. Rest assured to find your way. Rest assured to find your way. Choices that we often make, sometimes they may be mistakes, but it's a beautiful lesson if we listen. Blessings come to open minds. Listen to the voice inside. Rest assured that you will find your way. Rest assured to find your way. Rest assured to find your way.
All right. Yes. Talk about model, right? Hold on. No, hold on 1 second. Okay. So one thing that I want to bring up, and I love that, Brenda, it's so beautiful. You are beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. We focus on entrepreneurship at our school as well. And one thing is that when you found that the space you were in wasn't conducive to your spirit, you started your own thing. So I just wanted to mention that you all don't be afraid to start your own thing. So could you tell us, in starting your own label, so that's your latest project, I want to build up to, you released your own album on your own label. What did that feel like? I'm sure, was it scary at the beginning because you were in uncharted territory as an
Oh
entrepreneur?
yeah.
What advice could you give to someone to say, because there's a lot of actresses saying, hey, I can't get any, start your own thing. You said you rented out a theater, write your own
Yeah.
script. So what could you say in terms of arts and entrepreneurship, being an artist and going into entrepreneurship?
This is something that I feel really passionate about, actually, because, you know, 15, 20 years ago, the children today didn't have the access that they did then. We have the internet where children are being born like with phones in their hands, basically. We have so much like infinite information at our fingertips that you can literally do anything you want. You can learn anything you want. You can go anywhere you want. You have access to anything that you want. And so I very much believe in people taking advantage of that, and the difference in knowing like that's such a privilege that we have, that 20 years ago, like our parents could never do the things that we do with the internet these days because it didn't exist. So I think in terms of being able to be an entrepreneur and start your own thing, it's easier now than it ever was, because you want to start a business, you can Google it. You want, and there's probably 5,000 articles about how you can do it. So there's really no excuse for anyone not to do what they actually want to do, outside of it being their own self that's stopping them from doing it. Because the information is there. So yes, it's scary. And that's the hard part. It's getting past your self-doubt, your questions about, are you good enough, self-worth, laziness, just all of the things that we hinder ourselves from doing. The opportunity and the access is there with any internet. So I feel so strongly passionate about that because I have 3 children, and when I had my first child, my grandparents were so sad for me. I'm talking about like thinking my career was over, and in their world, it was, because they did not live in the world that we live in now. You know what I'm saying? Like if I was this single mother with 2 children at that time, living 20, 30 years ago, it would be a different situation for me, but that's not the world we live in anymore. And so I am incredibly grateful for the internet. The internet is how I was able to be an entrepreneur. It was how I was able to self-release an album. It was how I was able to not have to wait for someone else to give me access, for someone else to come and say, yes, you're hired, or yes, we want to produce you, or yes, we want to do this thing. The internet gave me the tools to be able to do these things myself. And everyone has access to the same tools. And so I think that's such a powerful thing that we often take for granted.
Awesome. Look, she's speaking. I could feel the passion in this area. She's like, look, no excuses, everyone. We all have the internet. If you want to produce something, if you want to start something, there's nothing stopping you. If anything is stopping you, and I'll take her words, it may be yourself, right? Yeah. So you may have to do some self-evaluation, because we have our dreams. How do you get there? Maybe you need to move yourself out of the way and say, forget my fear, forget any self-doubt, and let me just start. So just some feedback. Jazzville, it's a beautiful song. It speaks to me. Found it on YouTube. Got a heart from Sophia Mathis, who is Amber's mom. So yes, okay. So what has been some of the most rewarding things being in the arts? So you all, Brenda is a singer, she's an actress. I want to add modeling to her portfolio because she got all of this going on. So, I'm sure some endorsements are coming. So what's been the most rewarding and challenging as a singer and an actress in this journey for you?
The most rewarding thing is being able to impact other people, honestly, like hearing people's reactions and feedback, or saying like, oh, your voice gave me chills, or this song spoke to my heart, or this is exactly what I'm going through. And then in terms of acting, being able to portray real characters, going through real things, that is so important to me. So that's been the most rewarding thing. I think the most challenging thing, which is also the thing I was just saying was the best thing, also the most challenging, is doing all these things yourself. You know what I mean? Like, is managing all of these different things yourself. Because it gets to a point where you can't just be an artist anymore. You have to also have a business brain. You have to do both, because that's the gift, but it's also the challenge, right? The gift is that you can do these things, but it's also challenging to balance both sides of your brain like that, to be able to self-produce your art and then also market it, or there's with the internet came with everyone having to then be their own business person. You having to be able to know how to present yourself, being able to market yourself, being able to know like, oh, what should this profile say? Oh, what should this bio say? What picture should I put out to convey this? You have to then manage all those things. And it is a challenge. So that's probably the most challenging thing. But until you get a team, which I'm grateful for my team building around me, you do have to be both sides. You got to do the artist thing, and you got to do the business thing, and you got to do them both well. So
agree. And I can relate, Brenda, with all of the different platforms that I have. Like for 4 years, I was running a school on my own. And I want to give a shout out to Gail. She's a graduate of our adult program. She's now head of recruiting. And she was like, Pearl, how are you doing all of these roles by yourself? And it was just passion, passion and God wanting me to see this through and believing in it so much. Like I would do it for free. I would do it for free. But of course, at the end of the day, I'm in business and I want to make a profit. So yeah, there was something that you had mentioned about, so for the students, just as models as well, you want to start building your portfolio. You want to make sure that your bio is right. You want to present yourself with your own authentic voice. So even as models, you're somewhat entrepreneurs as well, as you're pushing yourself. So Brenda had mentioned a team. So how important in the art world, Brenda, is it to have an agent and to have management? And how important is that?
It's super important after it's like there's levels for when you're ready for certain things, right? If you don't need a manager if you don't have anything to manage. You don't need an agent if you're not ready to have an agent. So there's a point where it comes where it's like, oh yes, I need a team now, right? But getting to that point is like the self-work you got to do yourself. And then when you get to that point, then they can help take some of that stuff off of your plate, and they open up even bigger doors for you. So like now that I have an agent, I have more opportunities that I would be able to get on my own. And then with having a manager, they can help, decide what's going to help me get to my ultimate goal and what's not going to help me get to my ultimate goal. But I don't know if 15 years ago or 10 years ago, I would have been in the same position where it would have been as beneficial as it is now.
So I like a key point. Get a manager when you have something to manage, because people are so ready, like manage me or, represent me. First of all, get your techniques together in modeling, get a portfolio, and then we will consider you for our agency, So if you don't have your technique and your skills together, you know, more than likely an agent is not going to want to represent you. More than likely, they're not going to want to manage you because they are wanting to promote a product, you know, that is somewhat polished, somewhat presentable. So when you, as an artist, you want to make sure that you're working, you're building your craft, and then at a certain point, you know, you will cross that path where you will have to get an agent to help you. And in terms of having an agent opening doors, for me, an agent is so critical because they have relationships to your clients. So I was able to do the Dr. Till's commercial through an agent. I was able to, you know, get various things through an agent. So as you're building your career, refine yourself, build your skills so that these agencies are gunning to represent you, right? They want to represent you.
Yeah.
Okay, shout out to Kathy. And Gail says, good advice. So you all, we have Brenda for a couple of more minutes. So feel free to ask any questions that you may want to ask Brenda. She is a singer, actress, just played the role of Brenda, who I'm just finding out is Aretha Franklin's cousin, not sister, on the movie Respect. So when you all see Respect, Brenda is in one of the 3 background singers. I had showed her pictures earlier for those of you that are tuning in. And Brenda, since I don't see any questions coming in yet, what I'd like you to do to close us out actually is to give us a pearl of wisdom. Now, you've given us plenty of pearls of wisdom, you know, throughout this entire interview, but what would you tell our audience in terms of just your journey and your experience as an artist? What is a pearl of wisdom that you want to close us out with?
I would say be kind, be authentic, and build relationships. Those are the things that are going to take you across the finish line. When I was very young, starting out, someone early on told me, never burn bridges, never. I don't care what happened. You find a way to fix it in this industry because everything is about relationships. Be kind, be humble, be authentic, and build those relationships. That's going to help you.
Hence, you all, that's how I was able to get Brenda on. It's like, hey, Brenda. So thank you so much for that amazing pearl of wisdom. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm looking forward to some amazing write-ups on what you learned from Brenda and this session. Brenda, much continued success. I'm looking forward to, I'm excited about all your upcoming projects. I am one of those people that got chills. I think it was the last event that Kimmy did. Somebody was massaging your feet backstage, and I'm like, she deserves all of that because she is in her queen state and deserves all of that. So many flowers to you, sis. Thank you for always being kind. You know, we're soul sisters.
Yes.
So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And
Thank
you all,
for having me.
Absolutely. We'll see you for another edition of Model Talk Tuesdays. All right, Brenda.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.